The car stopped with a hard, squeaky sound. The night was cold and windy. A small schoolhouse stood in the dark like a quiet animal, with broken steps and a door the color of old tea. A little girl climbed out. Her shoes were dusty. Her small hand held a folded paper so tight her knuckles turned white. It was a map. "Do not lose this," the woman in the front seat said. Her voice shook, like a drum under a blanket. "Hold it like you hold your heart." The car door shut. The girl stood alone in front of the schoolhouse door. The wind lifted the ends of her hair and made the paper flap. The woman looked at her one last time through the window. Then the car rolled backward, turned, and sped away into the black road. Its red lights blinked twice and were gone. The girl was left at the schoolhouse door, holding a map to her family's hidden land. Thunder rumbled far away. The girl looked down at the paper. The map felt warm in her hand, as if it had been sitting in sunshine. A thin red line on the paper wriggled like a tiny snake and stopped at a drawing of a door that looked just like the one in front of her. The word "our" was written there in slanted letters, and under it was her name. She took one step toward the door. The old school bell high above the roof rang by itself. Once. Twice. On the third ring, the door latch clicked. The girl froze. Someone, something, was opening the door from inside. And then, everything went black. Earlier that day, the sun had been bright and hot. The little girl's name was Ife. She was 8 years old, with big eyes that everyone said looked like quiet ponds. She and her mother lived in a small room above a store that sold rice and kerosene. Their window looked out on a dusty road, and every afternoon, Ife watched lizards do push-ups on the hot wall while her mother sewed dresses to sell. That morning, a letter came. It was not like the other letters, which were thin and light and sometimes smelled like rain. This letter was thick and heavy, sealed with brown wax. It was delivered by a man on a motorbike who didn't take off his helmet. He said her mother's name without looking her in the eyes. Then he left. The letter sat on the table like a sleeping animal. "Ife," her mother said softly, "go wash your hands." Ife washed her hands, but she kept picking at the letter. Her mother opened it with a butter knife. Inside was another paper, folded and folded until it was as small as a coin. Her mother unfolded it slowly. The last fold came apart with a sigh, and a map spread across the table. The paper looked older than the walls, older than the road, older than the town itself. It had tiny drawings of trees and hills, and a river that curved like a smile. It had words written in a hand that leaned forward like a runner, "The Green Place." In one corner was a little crest, the kind you see on the top of a gate. It showed a bird with wide wings holding a leaf in its beak. "Who sent it?" Ife asked. Her mother didn't answer. She held the map with both hands like a mother holds a newborn. Her eyes were wet, but her lips were firm. "Pack your bag," she said. "Only what you need." "Where are we going?" "To school." "But it is not a school day." "I know," her mother said. "We go at night." Ife looked at the map again. The paper was full of paths and symbols, stars and numbers, and little notes like "falls," "loud and short bridge," "broken," and "do not trust the blue road." In the very center, a red line ran from the drawing of their town to a big open shape colored in green. It looked like a lake, but there were no waves drawn on it. In the middle of the green shape was a simple word, "OURS." "Is this ours?" Ife asked, pointing with one careful finger. Her mother touched the word with a shaking thumb. "It was," she whispered. "Maybe it still is." "Ife, listen to me. Some people want this for themselves. They would do anything to get it. We cannot keep it with us. It is not safe." She swallowed. "But there is a place that is safe. A place where paper does not burn and doors do not break." A place that belongs to us too. Our school. Your grandfather helped build that schoolhouse, her mother said. He said its door is older than it looks. He said if the right child stands there with the right map, the door will know. The door will know me. Her mother looked at her then, and Ife saw deep fear and deep love together in her eyes. It will know, she said. All afternoon, Ife packed and unpacked her bag. She took a sweater. She took a book with a golden spine, a pencil, her flute made from a reed, and 2 mangoes wrapped in newspaper. Her mother warmed beans and put them in a plastic bowl and made a bottle of sweet tea. Every little sound in the small room felt larger that day, the click of the spoon against the cup, the rustle of cloth, the sigh of the door. As the sun slid down, her mother tied blue cloth over her hair and locked the door. They went down the stairs and into the street. The air smelled like dust and fried plantain. A dog barked twice and then stopped. The sky was turning orange. A car waited by the corner, old, with one headlight brighter than the other. The driver was the same helmet man. He did not take off his helmet now either. Where to? He asked without looking back. The school, her mother said, and her voice was a little too steady. The car rolled forward. Houses slipped by like slow fish. Ife looked at her mother's hands on her lap. They were dry and clean, and the knuckles looked like small stones under the skin. She reached over and held one. Her mother squeezed back. They passed the market and the big tree with the tire swing and the small bridge with holes in it. The car turned off the main road onto a smaller road where the grass grew tall and brushed the doors. The sky went from orange to deep blue. Ife could see the first stars. Why at night? She asked. Because sometimes the night keeps secrets better, her mother said. The driver's head tilted a little at that, the helmet catching a bit of fading light. He said nothing. Who sent the map? Ife asked again. Was it grandfather? Your grandfather is gone now, her mother said. But the map is his voice. Ife didn't fully understand, but the words felt soft and heavy at the same time, like a blanket sewn with stones. They turned onto the school road. The schoolhouse was small and old, made of wood and stone, with steps that sloped sideways and a roof that sagged in one corner. Wild grass grew up along its fence. The big bell sat high on a pole, and the rope hung down like a long tail. No lights were on. No watchman sat outside. No teacher's bike leaned against the wall. It is shut, Ife said. It is waiting, her mother whispered. The driver stopped. The engine ticked softly as it could. The helmet man looked right and left, as if counting the trees. Then he looked at the road behind them. A dust cloud had begun to rise far away, like a pale ghost. Her mother saw it too. She leaned close and spoke quickly. Listen, my child. When I open your door, you will step out, just like we practiced. You will stand before the schoolhouse door and hold the map up high so the bell can see. You will not cry. You will not run after me. You will not look back. But I will come for you, her mother said. I promise with my whole heart. I will come soon. But I have to lead them away. She cupped Ife's face in both hands. Do you trust me? Ife's throat felt tight. I do, she said, because she did. Her mother kissed her forehead, quick and hard, and pressed the map into her hands. Hold it like your heart, she said again. Because it is. The driver unlocked the doors. The dust cloud on the far road grew thicker. Ife saw a small flash inside it, like a mirror catching light. The door swung open. Night air rushed in. Crickets sang. Ife stepped out. The ground was cool under her shoes. She walked to the steps. She turned. Her mother looked at her with shining eyes and then she was gone. The car rolled back, turned, and hurried away, tires scratching at stones. The red lights blinked twice, then went dark. Ife was alone. It took one deep breath for her to remember to breathe. She listened to the crickets. She listened to her heart. She listened to the map, which made no sound at all. She stood very straight in front of the door, lifted the map above her head, and counted to 5, like they had practiced. 1. The night hummed. 2. A wind picked up and ran its fingers through the grass. 3. The bell above her head rang one slow time. 4. It rang again, a little louder. 5. It rang a third time, sharp and clear, and the latch clicked. Ife's arm ached. She lowered the map. The door creaked inward. The room beyond was black as a closed eye. It smelled of chalk and old wood and rain that had dried long ago. Ife's chest rose and fell like a small wave. "Hello," she whispered. Her voice sounded tiny, like a mouse in a big pot. Something moved inside, the soft shuffle of feet on a wooden floor. Then a low hiss, like a match trying to light. Then a spark. A lamp flared up at the back of the room, and a small face appeared beside it, the face of a boy, not much older than Ife. He had a scar that ran like a thin white river from his eyebrow to his cheek. His hair was short and neat. He wore a sweater with a hole at one elbow and held the lamp with steady hands. "Come," he said. "Quickly." Ife didn't move. "Who are you?" "Name's Tay," he said. "I watch the school sometimes. The bell only rings by itself when the door wants someone. Tonight it wanted you. Come now, before." Headlights turned the far trees white. The light slid over the grass and over the fence and across the steps. It found the car marks and followed them. It found Ife, bright as a handheld torch. For one long bit, the lights froze on her like the eyes of a very big cat. "Before they come," Tay finished. A man's voice shouted from the road. Another voice answered. A door slammed. Boots hit dirt, fast. Tay lifted the lamp higher. "Do you have it?" he asked, eyes on the paper in Ife's hands. Ife nodded. "It's my family's." "Then inside," Tay said. "Now." She stepped forward. The door swung wider. As she crossed the line between outside and in, the map got warmer, like it liked the dark. The red line on it wriggled again and settled under a drawing of a bell and a door and a window with 3 panes. The schoolhouse looked different by lamplight. The walls were old maps and tiny drawings made by small hands. The desks were short and neat, lined up like rows of waiting kids. A chalkboard ran along the front. Across its corner, someone had written "Summer Holiday" in big slanted letters and drawn a sun with a face. Tay set the lamp on a desk. He went to the door and pulled it shut, slow and careful, like it was a sleeping giant. The latch clicked. The sound felt safe and not safe at the same time. "Who are those people?" Ife asked, trying not to let her voice shake. Tay didn't answer at once. He walked to the window and pulled the dusty curtain just a little. Headlights slid over the far wall and then went dark. The men outside were talking again. Their voices were low and mean. "They've been looking for something for a long time," he said at last. "We didn't know what. Now I think it's that." He pointed to her map. His finger stopped just short of the paper, as if it didn't want to touch. "What is this place?" Ife asked, not meaning the schoolhouse, but bigger than the schoolhouse. Tay looked at her, and something changed in his face, like a window opening. "Your grandfather used to sit right there," he said, pointing to a desk in the first row. "My grandmother told me. She said he helped build this door. She said it hides when it's scared and shows when it's ready. She said one day a child would come with a picture of a place that belongs to us all." Ife held the map closer to her chest. "It belongs to my family," she said, a little too fast. Maybe your family is bigger than you think, Tay said softly. Someone banged on the door. Once. Twice. 3 times, had enough to rattle the lamp. Tay and Ife both jumped. The lamp wobbled. A thin line of smoke rose from its wick. The curtain breathed in and out with the breath of the night outside. Open up, a rough voice called. We saw you run in there. Tay crossed the room to the chalkboard. There's a place, he said. Only for a while. Behind the board. He slipped his fingers under the bottom edge and pulled. The board swung out like a door. Behind it was a narrow space that smelled like dust and chalk and old books. The space went down into the floor like a short throat. A wooden ladder stuck its tongue out of the darkness. Inside, Tay said. Quick. Ife's heart did a fast dance. But she moved. She climbed onto the ladder. The wood creaked. The map grew warmer again, as if pleased. She slid down, rung by rung. The space opened at the bottom into a tiny room with a dirt floor. On one wall, someone had chalked a big circle with arrows, and little words she couldn't read in the dim light, store and save and seed. There was a small table, and on it, a box with a lock. Beside the box lay an old key. Tay came down after her and pulled the board shut above them. The bang on the schoolhouse door came again, louder now, and a voice said, You open, or we break. Another voice laughed, and that laugh sounded like someone stepping on glass. Tay lit a candle from the lamp, and the little room blinked awake. Ife set the map on the table and smoothed it with both hands. The red line wriggled one more time and stopped. It pointed straight at the box. Do you think, she began. Try, Tay said. Ife picked up the key. It was heavy, with a bar shaped like a leaf. The lock on the box was rusty but clean inside, like someone had oiled it and waited. She put the key in. It fit. She turned it. The lock clicked, a small, sweet sound, like the start of a song. The banging above stopped. Silence swelled. Then the schoolhouse door upstairs crashed open so hard that dust fell from the ceiling onto Ife's hair. They are in, Tay whispered. He blew out the lamp in the tiny room. The candle kept burning, small but brave. Be quick. Ife opened the box. Inside were 2 things. The first was another map, smaller than hers, drawn on squinting paper with tiny black lines that made her eyes ache and wonder at the same time. It had the same green shape in the middle, only now the shape had little squares drawn inside it, fields, gardens, houses, and a circle with the words Old Well. The second was a small stone wrapped in cloth. Ife lifted it out. The stone was pale and smooth, with a simple bird carved into it, the same bird from the crest. A line of tiny letters ran under the bird. Ife moved the candle closer. Where the bell speaks, the roots remember. What does it mean? She whispered. Tay touched the words with one finger, then pulled his hand back, as if the stone were hot. It means the land remembers things people forget, he said. Footsteps thudded across the floor above. Low voices spread like oil. Someone kicked a desk. Someone laughed again. The laugh crept under the board and sat in the corner like a nasty cat. We know you are here, a man said. His voice sounded like it had thorns. Bring the paper. Ife looked at her map. She looked at the small map in the box. She looked at the stone. Her heart knocked. She wanted to run to her mother. She wanted to pack everything back into the box and hide under the ladder. She wanted to blow out the candle and become night herself. Tay pointed to a small crack in the wall, where the dirt was soft. There is a tunnel, he said. It is small, for kids only. It goes to the back of the schoolyard. If we take it, we can get to the mango trees. From there we can run to the old road. What about the maps? Ife asked. What about the stone? We take them, they said. If we leave them, they find them. What if we do not run? Ife asked, surprising herself. The words came out before she knew she had them. What if we open the door that is not a door? They stared at her. What? My mother said the door knows, Ife said. Maybe there is another door. One that only opens with this. She held up the stone. Above them, a man's boot scraped across the chalkboard. He stopped. The silence changed shape, like a mouth getting ready to speak. Here, he said to the others, with a new kind of voice, eager, smiling, dangerous. There is a door behind this. Tay's eyes widened. They know. The candle flame shivered. The little room felt suddenly smaller, as if the walls were breathing in. Ife clutched the stone. The bird's carved wings felt smooth against her palm. The tiny letters pressed into her skin. Where the bell speaks, the roots remember, she whispered to herself, trying to make the words brave. She turned to the dirt wall with the crack, where the tunnel mouth yawned like a baby's small cry. She could crawl in. She could hold the maps to her chest and slide through the earth and breathe the soft, cool smell of roots and damp stone. She could run under the moon to the mango trees and hide among the leaves, and maybe, just maybe, reach the old road, and then, her mother. But the stone in her hand pulled her eyes back to the box. To the maps. To the little bird crest. To the old, kind door her grandfather had helped build. And to the bell above, that had rung for her. Her heart said run. The stone said remember. The board above their heads shuddered. Chalk dust rained down. The man laughed again, very close now. Fingers found the edge of the secret door and began to pull. Tay grabbed Ife's sleeve. Choose, he whispered. His voice cracked. Choose now. Ife took one deep breath, then another. She put the small map and the stone into her bag. She folded her big map, quick and careful, so the red line faced out. She looked at the tunnel. She looked at the board. And she did something she didn't plan. She stood on her tiptoes, lifted her map high, and pressed the birdstone against the dirt wall where the crack was. Bell, speak, she whispered. At first, nothing happened. Then the school bell above their heads rang once, loud and clear, though no hand pulled the rope. The dirt wall before them trembled. The crack widened. Roots curled like fingers and then uncurled, making a shape like a door frame. The soil inside the frame slid down like slow water and left a dark opening shaped exactly like the outline of Ife's map. The board above gave way with a sharp, ripping sound. Light burst down through the cracks. A boot heel struck the ladder. A hand reached into the little room. And the new door in the earth breathed cold air across Ife's face, as if the land itself had opened its mouth to speak. Ife grabbed Tay's hand. Run or remember, he asked, voice a threat. Both, she said, because she could feel it now, the way the land held stories in its roots, the way the bell called doors awake, the way the map in her hand was not just lines and ink, but a promise older than fear. She pulled him toward the dark opening. Above, a man dropped into the little room with a heavy thud. He had a scar like a crooked finger across his nose and eyes that looked like wet stones. He saw the map. He saw the stone. He saw the new door in the wall. Stop, he shouted, and his hand shot out, fast as a snake. His fingers brushed the corner of the map. The red line flashed bright as lightning. And everything went white. The white light was everywhere. It filled Ife's eyes. It filled her ears. It filled the tiny room like milk poured into a small bowl. For a breath, there was no sound, no shout, no boot, no fear. Just white. Then the light drew back, like a wave going home. Ife blinked. The small room was still there, the dirt floor, the chalk circle on the wall, the open box. But the board above was quiet. No boots studded. No mean laugh crawled around. The ladder had vanished as if it had been erased. In its place, a wall of roots stood, woven tight like braids. The roots were alive. Ife could feel them breathing, slow and deep, like old trees in sleep. Tay squeezed her hand. His eyes were big and round. "Are you okay?" "I think so," Ife whispered. Her heart was loud, but the room was not. She looked down. The map in her hand was warm. The red line on it glowed a little, like a tiny ember under ash. The birdstone in her bag hummed, soft as a cat. The new door in the dirt wall, the one shaped like the outline of her map, was open. Cold air moved out of it, smelling like wet leaf and clean water. "Where did he go?" Tay asked, meaning the man who had dropped into the little room. "I don't know," Ife said. They listened. Above them, the bell rope groaned once as if someone had touched it. Then all was still again. Tay let out a slow breath. "We should move," he said. "Before the choir changes its mind." Ife nodded. The less extreme moment was standing with them like a shy friend. They could not waste it. She put the small map and the birdstone back in her bag, held the big map to her chest, and stepped toward the new door. The doorway was shaped like the map. Its edges were made of thick roots that curled like the arms of old men. When Ife crossed the line, the roots brushed her sleeves as if saying hello. Tay followed. The air inside was cool and damp. Soft light came from tiny white flowers that grew along the walls. The flowers opened and closed like little mouths breathing. "This is not a tunnel people made," Tay whispered. "No," Ife said. "It is a tunnel the land remembered." They walked. The path sloped down a little, then held level, then curved. It was not straight. It moved like a river moves, easy and patient. Their feet made no hard sound. Their voices came back to them kind and small. The red line on the map did a slow dance. It was brighter than before. It was now not just a line. It was like a thin thread that tugged them forward, not hard, but steady, as if it was happy to lead at last. On the walls they saw marks, faint carvings of birds and leaves and people holding hands. In one place, the carvings showed a man and a woman bending over a long plank. The plank had a hole in it shaped like a key. The man had a bird on his shirt. The woman wore a head wrap tied high. "Look," Tay said, touching the wall with one finger. "My grandmother told me a story like this. A man and a woman who made a door that did not open with a hand." "My grandfather," Ife said, and the word "my" sounded different in her mouth, bigger and softer at the same time. They reached a bend. The light flowers shook as if a wind had passed, but the air was still. The roots under their hands felt like rope. They could hear water far away now, a gentle sound like rain on leaves. In their quiet walk, thoughts had room to rise. "Why were those men chasing us?" Ife asked. Tay shrugged, but it was the kind of shrug that was heavy. "They have been asking about the school for weeks," he said. "First they sat at the road and watched. Then they came and walked around the fence. Then they tried the door. They said they were here to fix the bell. But they did not bring a ladder. They looked at the old wall where the chalkboard hangs. They felt it like it was a drum. And you saw." "I watch at night sometimes," Tay said. "My grandmother taught me. She said the bell is like a mouth. You must listen to the way it rings. If it rings a little lonely, a small thing is looking for a friend. If it rings a little angry, a bad thing is looking for a fight. If it rings clear and clean, a door somewhere is waking up." "It rang clear and clean for me," Ife said. "For you," Tay agreed. "And when my grandmother was dying, she held my hands and said, 'A child will come with a map that is also a heart. The child will say a strange word that sounds like two. When the child says it, you will know to follow. A strange word. Tay smiled a small smile. She said the word would be both. Ife blinked. In the tiny room, with chalk dust in the air and fear in her throat, she had said, both. So you were waiting, she said, surprised by how warm that made her feel. I was waiting, Tay nodded. I did not know your name. I did not know your face. But I knew the bell would choose. It chose you. The water sound grew louder as they walked. The low moment felt like a soft blanket. It let Ife think of her mother without crying. It let her remember the kiss on her forehead, quick and hard. It let her picture the red lights blinking twice as the car turned away. It let her keep moving. They turned a corner and the tunnel opened into a small cave. A thin stream of water ran along one side, clear as glass. Tiny fish, no bigger than fingernails, slid in and out of the light that the flowers made. On the far wall, 3 tunnels waited like 3 mouths. One mouth was edged with roots that were the color of wet earth. The little flowers there were greenish. Over that mouth, someone had carved a small leaf. One mouth was edged with roots that were pale, almost blue. The flowers there were powder blue too, and they gave off a cool breath. Over that mouth, someone had carved a waveline. The last mouth was edged with roots that were deep green, thick and strong. The flowers were bright, and little bugs, white like the flowers, moved in and out of them. Over that mouth, someone had carved a round fruit. On the wall between the mouths, a tiny line of words ran across, hard to see. Ife held the candle close and sounded them out, slow. Root road. Blue road. Green road. She looked down at the map. The red thread on it slid to the corner, then back, like a lizard deciding what rock it liked. On the big map, near the bottom, the note her mother had pointed to stood up in her mind, do not trust the blue road. Not the blue, she said, and her voice shook a little, not from fear, but from the small weight of deciding. Not the blue, Tay agreed. Blue looks easy. It did. A fine cool wind came from the blue mouth. It smelled like fresh sky. But easy, the map had warned, was not always friend. The green road? Tay asked. It looks strong. The root road? Ife asked back. It looks safe. They were both right. The green one looked alive. The root one looked sure. The blue one looked happy, like a hand offering sweet candy with a hidden needle. The red line gathered itself like a bird getting ready to fly and then tugged toward the green mouth. Green, Ife said. They stepped into the green tunnel. It was narrower, but the air felt kind. Leaves grew from the walls here, small and thin like baby tongues. As they brushed past, the leaves touched their arms like soft fingers. Behind them, the quiet in the cave changed shape, and Ife did not like the new shape. It felt like a smile that showed too many teeth. They walked faster. The tunnel rose and dipped, but not too much. The sound of water got louder still. Falls, loud, Ife whispered, remembering the old note on the map. The words had looked small when she first read them at the table. They did not feel small now. They felt like a real place waiting like a giant behind a curtain. Loud is good, Tay said. It can hide us. Loud can hide footsteps. They came to a place where the floor fell away in a neat square hole and started again on the other side. A gap. It stretched from wall to wall like a dry, toothless mouth. In the hole, dark water slid from left to right. It did not run fast, but it was deep. The skin of it shivered with small waves. The gap was not wide. A short jump could cross it. But the floor on the other side was a little higher, and the far edge was wet. Tay tested the edge with his foot. It was slippery. He put his hand to the wall. The roots there were slick too. Short breach, broken, Ife said. The note from the table had stepped out of the paper and stood right in front of her. There had once been a plank here, maybe, or a line of roots pulled tight. Now the bridge was gone. They could jump. But the wet edge and the higher far side made it not easy. If they slipped, the water would take them. It would not hurt them maybe, but it would pull them under and carry them to a place the map did not show. The thought made Ife's stomach feel small. Tay looked at her. "We can try together," he said. "Hold hands. On 3. Ife looked down at the map. The red line glowed and waited. The birdstone in her bag hummed again. The humming made a picture in her mind of roots like rope sliding and knotting, like hands knitting a scarf. She took the stone out. The bird's wings shone in the flower light. The tiny letters under it were clear. Where the bell speaks, the roots remember. Ife lifted the stone and touched it to the wall beside the gap. "Bell, speak," she whispered. Her voice did not have to be loud. It had to be true. Far above, faint and far like a dream, the school bell rang one single time. The roots under her hand stirred. Slowly, like something happily waking, they slid out from the wall and reached across the gap. They made a small bridge, nothing fancy, just 2 thick cords and a flat braid between. The braid was wet but not slick. The ends of the roots curled into hooks and held tight on both sides. Tay laughed a small, amazed laugh. "You did it." "We did it," Ife said, and her smile felt like a pocket of sun. They crossed. The root bridge held. On the far side, Tay touched it with 3 fingers and said, "Thank you." The roots made a small ripple, like a living thing pleased. They walked on. The water sound grew so loud now that it filled their chest. They rounded another bend and the tunnel opened on a ledge. Below and to the left, a waterfall poured from a slit in the wall and crashed into a pool. The spray made the tiny flowers blink. The air was full of silver mist. Ife stepped close to the ledge edge and saw something else, a round mouth in the rock far across the pool, half hidden by leaves and falling water. Over the round mouth, a small mark had been carved into the stone. It was the bird crest. Beside it, another word was carved in small neat letters. "Well," Ife read aloud. She felt a jump inside. On the smaller map from the box, the words "OLD well" sat in a little circle like a coin in a child's palm. They had found it. "The old well is a door," they said. "My grandmother used to say, when the well remembers you, the land forgives the years." "What does it mean?" Ife asked. "I think it means the well opens when the right person comes with the right thing," Tay said, looking at the birdstone and the map. "Like the school door." Ife traced the mark with her eyes. The ledge they were on made a narrow path to the well, but the path was broken in one place by a crack that dropped to the pool. Not too wide, but too wide to step, with water running down it like tears. She studied the map. The red line tugged toward the well. It was patient, but it was sure. "Maybe the stone again," she said. They moved along the ledge until they reached the crack. Ife touched the wall. "Bell, speak," she whispered. The bell did not ring this time, not in a way her ears could hear. But the roots remembered. From under the ledge lip, they slid out and made a small step, then another, like a staircase for careful feet. The steps were narrow. The spray made them shine. Tay went first. He placed his feet like he was laying eggs, slow and safe. Ife followed, holding the map high so the drops would not wet it. They reached the other side. The old well mouth stood before them like a round, dark eye. Inside was still water, flat as a mirror. Above the water, carved into the inner lip, a small nest of twigs had been fixed in the stone. It was as if someone had grown a nest there long ago and then the nest turned to rock. "The bird's place," Tay said. "The stone," Ife said. She took the birdstone from her bag and placed it in the rock nest. Its feet. The wings lined up with two lines in the stone like it had been waiting to lie there and sleep. Nothing happened. They waited. Nothing happened still. Maybe we knock, they said. On what? Ife asked. On the well, he said, and then, not with his hand, but by leaning forward, he said softly, please. The well water trembled, just a small shiver, then again, a bigger shiver. A faint light rose from the deep, not white like the first flash, but green, the soft green of new leaves in early morning. The birdstone warmed under Ife's palm. A voice rose from the well. It was not a voice like a person's voice. It was sound shaped like words. It was water speaking. It was roots telling a story without a mouth. Where the bell speaks, the roots remember. Where the stone lies, the door learns your name. Child of Ebony, do you remember me? Ife's breath stuck. Ebony. That was her mother's name. The well knew her mother. The well, or the land under it, or something old that lived in both. How do I answer? Ife whispered. Say your name, they said. He had set down the lamp. The light made his face shine in a way that looked like courage. My name is Ife, she said to the water. I am the daughter of Ebony. The green light moved in a slow circle, as if thinking. Then the words came again, softer, the way your grandmother speaks your name the best way. Ife, you carry the map that is also a heart. What do you bring to trade for open ground? Ife looked at Te. Trade. The word made her think of the market and coins and loud voices and people arguing over yams. She had no coins. She had no gold. She had a fruit in her bag, a mango, but that felt wrong to give to a well. She had a reed flute, old and chipped, but that felt small. What do you trade for a door that is a well and a well that is a door? She had a map that was also a heart. She set the big map on the stone rim, careful of the water. I bring truth, she whispered, and she did not know she would say that until she did. I bring the truth of us. That this land is not for one person who is loud. It is not for one hand that is strong. It is for many hands that hold each other. It is for seeds and stories and names that stretch and bend but do not break. It is for us. I bring truth. The water's green light brightened, just a little. The birdstone warmed more. A small sound rose from the well, like a small bell ringing underwater. You bring truth, the well said. Good. But truth is hungry. Truth must eat. Feed it something you would rather keep. Ife's throat tightened. Something she would rather keep. Her eyes went to her bag. The mangoes. The flute. The small map. The birdstone. The map. Her hand touched the reed flute. She had made it with her mother by the river, on a day when the air was heavy and kind and dragonflies danced as if they knew a song she had not learned yet. Her mother had held the reed and said, blow gentle. Let the song come like a bird landing. Ife had laughed until the tune came. She did not want to give it up. She took out the flute. It felt warm from the bag, warm from her body. She held it to her lips one last time and blew. A small, sweet tune came. It was not long. It was like a held breath. When it fell away, the sound hung in the air like a thin thread. Ife placed the flute on the stone nest beside the birdstone. For truth, she said, and her eyes wet themselves, but she did not cry. She let the water see that she loved the flute. That made it a true trade. The well water rose in a small hill, the way the skin on milk rises when it warms. A mouth of light opened in the hill. The light reached out like a hand and took the flute. It did not pull it under. It held it in the water skin like a jewel. The birdstone glowed. The round rim of the well shivered. Then the rock under their feet trembled. A seam drew itself in the ledge, thin and straight like a pattern line in hair. The water under the skin boiled without bubbles. The bird crest above the well brightened and pressed itself deeper into the stone. The old well sighed. Then the wall on the other side of the pool, low and plain and covered in tiny leaves, split open like a quiet mouth that had been closed for years and had learned again how to smile. Behind the split was a soft green dark that felt like the inside of a tree. The green place, Te breathed, like someone seeing home he has only seen in a story. Ife held the map. The red line on it jumped like a small fish and then ran forward, straight and sure. They moved along the ledge toward the open wall mouth. The water on the floor was not too much here, just a thin line that made their shoes dark. The mist kissed their faces and made their hair calmer. Their hands were steady and their feet even. They reached the mouth. The air inside smelled like rain and sweet grass and something else, like the inside of a chest where your grandmother keeps cloth, clean and old. Ready? Te asked. Ready, Ife said. They stepped through. The ground under their feet was soft. Not like mud, not like sand. Like living carpet. It made no sound, it gave a little and then pressed back, like a cat's back under your palm. Light was all around them, but there was no sun to see. The light came from leaves that held tiny stars in their veins. The trees were not like the trees in the town. They were tall and slow and very awake. Their leaves turned their faces to look. The birds did not fly away. They watched. The air had a quiet song in it, like humming that is not a voice but something with a heart. We did it, Te said, and he laughed again, a little more this time, and the laugh did not sound like fear. It sounded like first rain. A tiny animal with big eyes and a tail like a brush ran across the path and stopped and stared, then ran on again. Flowers that looked like white hands opened and closed, slow and gentle. Ife felt something inside her chest loosen and rise. She thought of her grandfather. She thought of the small crest with the bird and the leaf. She thought of the word OURS written in slanted letters in the middle of the green space on the map. She touched the word with her thumb. Ours, she whispered. We are here. They did not run. They walked. The path was marked by small stones that shone like water. In each stone, a tiny symbol was set, a leaf, a bird, a hand, a seed, a house, a well. The symbols repeated, a quiet pattern to keep feet sure. As they moved deeper, the light grew warmer, like afternoon light. In a small clearing, they saw a low wall made of woven roots, with a gate of the same. The gate had no lock. It had only a bell rope hanging beside it. The bell rope did not go up to a bell. It went down into the ground, as if pulling it would ring the earth itself. Should we pull? Te asked. Ife lifted her hand. Then she stopped. The air changed. It shifted so fast that her skin felt it before her mind did. It became thin and tight, like a drum skin pulled too hard. Do you feel? Te began. Yes, Ife said, and her voice was flat now, like a line. She turned. Back on the ledge by the waterfall, in the world of stone and spray, a new shape had moved in the mist. It was tall and dark. It met the green mouth with steps that were careful and mean. From the split in the wall behind them, two men stepped into the green place. The first was the one with the scar over his nose. His eyes were not wet stones now. They were small fires. His mouth was a tight line. He did not come in fast like a man who only knows how to chase. He came in like a man who has looked at a closed door for a long time and has just found the key. He held a small round mirror in his hand, the size of a mango slice, and the mirror caught the leaf light and broke it into little bits on his shirt. The second was the helmet man. He had no helmet now. His hair was short and stiff. His face without the helmet looked tired and sorry. He stopped at the mouth and did not step down. His eyes saw Ife and something in them bent, like a knee. Te, Ife whispered. That's our driver. I know, Te said. His voice became very small, very quickly. The scar man smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was a smile like a closed fist. He lifted the mirror. The leaf light danced on the trees. Hello, child of Albany, he said, and he said Albany like a person who has said that name 100 times and 100 times he has wanted something when he said it. Hello, bellboy. Te flinched at the words bellboy, as if the man had slapped his nickname out of his mouth. You know my mother, Ife said. Her hands held the map. They felt hot and cold. I know your mother very well, the man said. I know her father too. I know the piece of ground your grandfather hid from us with songs and clever tricks. I know the door he built, and I know the child he told the door to wait for. Then you know you must leave, Ife said, and she was surprised at her own voice. It came out steady. Because this is ours. The scar man's smile went away. I know who wrote that word, he said softly. And I know how to make a new word sit on top of it. Paper burns. Stone breaks. But I have something that beats both. He held up the mirror again. It looked harmless. It looked like something you hold when you like your own face too much. But when he turned it a little, the leaf light bent and did something ugly. The air in front of the mirror wrinkled like hot road. The little light stars in the leaves flickered as if they were afraid. Do you know what this is? He asked. A mirror, Te said, trying to make his voice like a stone. A tracker, the man said. It sees bells speaking. It sees roots moving. It sees doors in the ground. It showed me your ladder. It showed me your new door. It will show me every secret path in this little green toy, and then you will sit on top of it like a bad bird, a new voice said from the open gate of woven roots. All of them turned. An old woman stood inside the gate. She was tall, taller than Ife's mother. Her hair was the color of clouds at sunrise, white with a soft warm undercolor. Her face was a map of lines, not the kind that lead to lost, but the kind that lead to found. She wore a wrapper of green cloth with small birds printed on it and a blouse the color of clean river stones. Around her neck was a cord. On the cord hung a small charm carved like a leaf. She held a staff. The staff had growing things on it, small leaves pushed out of its side as if it was a plant still, not a dead stick. Her eyes were sharp and kind. They looked at Ife and grew even kinder. They looked at Te and grew proud. Te, she said. You are here at last. Grandma. Te breathed, and the word cracked in the middle with shock. But you died, the woman said, and she smiled, and her smile made the leaves lift a little. I did. In one place. But in this place, roots remember. In this place, I am not gone, because the bell spoke my name right and someone listened with a good heart. She tapped her staff on the ground once. The gate opened wider by itself. Come, grandchildren, she said, and she said it to both of them without thinking. Come in. The green place cannot fight for you if you are not inside its arms. The scar man laughed. How sweet, he said. A ghost with a stick. Do you think that will stop me? The hermit man, without his helmet, with his tired face, still stood at the mouth, not yet inside. His eyes had not left Ife's face. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say a thing he had kept under his tongue for a long time. But the scar man did not stop to listen. He lifted the mirror higher. The air wrinkled more, like paper in a hot hand. The tiny leaf lights shook. The roots around the gate pulled back a little, like someone afraid of fire. Te grabbed Ife's arm. Inside, he said. They ran the few steps to the gate. The old woman lifted her staff and the roots slid around them like a mother's arms. The gate closed, not hard, but firm. The scarman reached the gate at the same time and slapped the mirror against the woven roots. The sound that came was not a normal sound. It was like a bee and a bell and a scream of metal all pressed into a thin shape. The roots flinched. The leaves on the trees turned their faces away. "Stop," the old woman said, and she hit the ground with her staff a second time. The ground answered her. A low sound, deep and slow, came up through Ife's feet into her bones. It was the sound of a drum dug very deep and hit by a hand that knew everything about loss and everything about not giving up. The sound pushed the mirror scream back a little. The scarman stepped away from the gate. His eyes were bright in a bad way. He looked from the old woman to the gate to the leaf light, then back to Ife. He smiled again, the mean smile. "All right," he said softly. "We can play another game. If the door will not open to me, I will make the child open it." His hand shot out, not at the gate, but back toward the rock ledge. He grabbed the front of the driver's shirt, the helmet man without helmet, and yanked him forward so he had to stumble into the green place, onto the soft ground. The driver's face twisted. The scarman turned him by the shoulders like a doll, pushed him to his knees, and pressed the sharp side of the mirror to the soft skin just under the driver's ear. The leaf lights fell flat. The old woman's mouth went thin. The driver's eyes found Ife's again. They were full now. They were a small ocean. "I am sorry," he whispered. "I tried to help." "Your mother," he swallowed. His voice broke. "She told me to get you as close as I could." "What?" Ife breathed. Her head swam. The word tilted a little. "You." The scarman pressed the mirror harder. "Open the gate," he said to Ife in a voice that had rocks in it. "Put the map and the stone in my hand." Or he bleeds a little and then a lot. The old woman lifted her staff, but stopped. Her eyes did math very fast. She hissed air in through her teeth like someone who has stepped on a sharp shell. Ife's hands shook. The map was warm and alive. The stone was warm and old. Tay stood beside her, his jaw tight, his eyes wide, his chest moving like a bird trapped in a room. "Don't," the driver said, and there was a new shape in his voice, a shape like a father's voice when he does not care if he breaks to keep his child whole. "Little one, do not give him our heart." "Enough," the scarman said. His eyes never left Ife's face. 10. 9. He began to count. Ife's heart beat once, twice, 3 times. The number 9 fell on the ground and lay there like a dark stone. 8. She had to do something quick. The gate was strong but not full safe. The mirror was bad but maybe not all strong. The old woman had power, but the mirror made that power take small steps. The driver's throat pressed against a sharp thing. She had to decide. 7. She looked at the map. The red line was bright and wild now. It was not calm. It was not patient. It was pushing against the paper like it wanted out. The word OURS in the middle glowed as if someone had set one candle under each letter. 6. She looked at the stone. The bird's wings seemed to breathe. 5. She looked at Tay. He looked back. He nodded once, small, like a seed nodding to soil. 4. Both Ife breathed, remembering the moment in the tiny room when she had to choose and she had chosen both. Run and remember. Heart and feet. Fear and courage. 3. She lifted the map high with one hand. She reached for the birdstone with the other. She stepped to the gate. The roots felt her and softened. 2. Bell, she whispered, speak. The ground bell, deep and slow, rose like a big animal lifting its head. The gate roots tightened in a pattern, like fingers preparing to catch. The leaf lights blinked. 1. Ife slammed the map against the inside of the gate at the exact same heartbeat that she pressed the birdstone to the woven roots. The map's red line burned. The storm sang. The gate did something gates do not do. It jumped. Not far. Just enough. It snapped out and back like a strike. The mirror in the scar man's hand met the jumping roots. The mirror screamed. It cracked down the middle like ice in hot water. The scar man swore and dropped it. It fell on the soft ground, and the ground did not like it. The ground moved. A small round mouth of earth opened and swallowed the mirror as if it had eaten many bad things before and would eat many bad things again. The driver yanked free, rode away, and crawled toward the ledge, holding his neck. The old woman lifted her staff high. The leaf lights flashed like lightning held in small bowls. The scar man looked at his empty hand. Then he looked at Ife's face. Then he moved like a snake, fast and sure and hungry. His hand shot through the root gate. His fingers found the corner of the map. He grabbed it. The red line flashed. And the well behind him roared like a mouth that has changed its mind. Water blew out of the round stone rim in a white rush. It hit the scar man from behind and sent him forward, through the gate a little, halfway, stuck, his shoulders squeezed by roots as tight as tough love. He shouted, a short angry sound. The old woman slammed her staff. The ground answered. The roots grabbed his arms. For one tiny, bare second, Ife saw his face up close. She saw a small scar under his left eye, thin and white like a thread. She saw his eyes. Under the bad fire, she saw a small tired thing, like a child that had not been hugged in a long, long time. He saw her see. He yanked his hand. And the map tore. Not all of it. One corner. The corner with a little drawing of a tree and a dot and two small letters, OW. The piece came off in his fist. No. Tay shouted, and he moved to grab the scrap, but the roots jerked tight like a trap and then let go all at once. The scar man fell back. He stumbled. He did not fall into the water. He fell onto the stone ledge. He held the torn piece high like a prize. He laughed. It was worse than his mirror scream. He turned and ran, fast and low, back through the slit in the rock while the well still spat water like a small storm. The driver got to his feet, coughing. He grabbed the rock lip with one hand and pulled himself up. He looked at Ife and opened his mouth again, maybe to throw a rope of words to her, words about her mother, words that could hang a bridge between this green world and the world of the dusty road. But he did not get to speak. From the rock mouth, more men were coming, dark and sharp and many, like a line of ants under a door. And from deep in the green place, bells began to ring, not school bells, but small bells and big ones, some like shells, some like metal, some like wood hit with wood. They rang in a pattern, not wild, but urgent. The land was calling itself awake. The old woman turned to Ife. Her eyes were kind no more. They were fierce and golden and full of hurry. Child of Albany, she said, the piece he took is the name of the first door. If he reaches it before us, he will open a road we do not want opened. The well will not hold him again. The ground will not close the blue road twice. You must go now. Go where? Ife asked, her voice small again for the first time since the well had spoken her name. To the old well in the green place, the old woman said. Not the stone one behind us. The first one. The one that remembers the oldest name. The map will show you the new path. The stone will open it. Tay will lead your feet. I will hold the gate and hold off the ants as long as I can. But my mother, Ife began, and the word held everything. She is on a road that comes here, the old woman said, and the words were true and hurt like the truth. But it is a long road with many eyes. If you make the old well speak first, the road will shorten. If you fail, her road grows longer. Go. Ife looked down at the map. The tail looked like a missing tooth. The red line was no longer a single line. It had split into two like a forked tongue. One line ran along the edge of the missing corner, chasing the scammer like a red dog. The other line curved the other way, through the trees of this place, toward a mark she had not seen before. The mark looked like a circle inside a circle, like an eye open in the ground. Tay took her hand. "I know a path that is quiet," he said, which meant not safe, but less loud. The driver grabbed the route gate with both hands. "Ife," he said, and his voice was hoarse. "Your mother said to tell you," he squeezed his eyes shut. A tear cut a clean line through the dust on his cheek. "She said to tell you the song she taught you is more than a song. It is a key when you blow it soft. It is a shield when you hum it low. It is a rope when you sing it together with someone who loves you." "My flute," Ife said, and a sting went through her heart. She saw the flute again, held in the water skin of the well like a jewel. The old woman's mouth touched a smile. "The well kept it," she said. "Ask for it back when you need it. The land is not a thief." Behind the driver, men shouted. The scar man's voice rose, thin and sharp, calling other men to him. The waterfall roared. The bells in the trees answered the bells in the ground. The green place was no longer only gentle. It was awake and busy and ready. "Go," the old woman said again, and she hit the ground with her staff a third time. This time the ground did not hum. It moved. A thin path of small white stones pushed up from the soft earth at Ife's feet and ran away into the trees like a line drawn by a fast hand. The stones glowed like the tiny stars in the leaves. The red line on the map leaped to meet it. Ife and Tay ran. They ran past flowers that closed as if to hide them. They ran over roots that pulled back like feet. They ran under branches that bent down to make an arch. The path curved left and right, never straight too long, like a snake that knows how to avoid a stick. The sound of men and water fell away behind them. New sounds came, the rustle of big leaves flipping, the low hoot of a bird with a voice like a drum, the soft hiss of seed pods opening. The air smelled like wet stone and ripe fruit. They did not talk. Their breath needed their mouths. They ran until their legs stung, then they walked fast with their hands on their knees, then they ran again. The path took them into a hollow where the ground dipped and rose like a sleeping bag. At the bottom of the hollow stood a round circle of stones, half buried, old and kind. In the middle was a dark hole, not a scary hole, but an old one, the kind that has seen many days and has decided to stay gentle about it. The circle of stones had small carvings on them. On one, a bird. On another, a leaf. On a third, a hand that looked like a child's. On a fourth, lines that looked like rain. "The first well," Tay panted. "We are here." Ife's heart hammered like a small drum. She stepped to the edge and looked down. She expected water. There was none. There was only darkness, but not empty darkness. It had weight like a blanket, and it smelled like earth and the inside of old baskets. "How do we make it speak?" she asked. Tay pointed to a smooth place on the stones. It was shaped like the birdstone. She pulled the stone out and set it there. It fit. The stones warmed. "Now the song," Tay said, breathing hard. "Your mother's song." Ife opened her mouth. No sound came. Fear was a cat in her throat. She closed her eyes. She saw the river. She saw her mother's hands showing hers where to hold the reed. She saw dragonflies like pieces of glitter trying not to get caught and failing because they wanted to be caught. She hummed first, low and soft, the way the driver had said. The notes were small. They rolled off her tongue like small smooth stones dropped into shallow water. The well breathed in. She sang the tiny song. No words, just a kind tune. The tune went into the hole and came back changed, like a person who goes to the market and returns with more than they planned. It came back as a second voice below hers, then a third, then a fourth, like the earth itself had all throats and each one was happy to sing again. Te added his voice, quiet and careful. He did not know the song, but he knew how to sing with love. The driver's words were true, the song was a rope when sung together. The circle stones glowed. The carvings on them stood up as if they were small animals waking. The ground inside the circle turned like a slow wheel. The dark opened like a mouth that had been sleeping with lips closed. From the deep, a green light rose, like in the first well, but older. It made Ife's skin prickle. The light shaped itself into a face made of leaves and lines, not a person face, but a face you see in a forest when you have walked long enough to earn it. It looked at Ife. The looking felt like a hand on her cheek. Child of Ebony, the old well said without moving a mouth, you came fast and you traded dear. The land thanks you. But a piece of your heart has been torn. The first door is weak now. The thief holds the name. Speak quickly, and speak right, before his feet make the wrong road strong. I will, Ife whispered. Tell me how to fix what he took. Bring the piece back, the well said. Or bring a name older than the piece and lay it on top. I don't have the piece, Ife said, and her stomach pulled. He ran. Then sing the oldest name, the well said, and the words got softer, like hands on a baby's head. The oldest name is not a word. It is a promise. How do I sing a promise? Ife asked, almost crying, but not quite. With your whole heart, the well said. With both. The green light swelled. Then the ground behind them shook like a small angry thing running fast. They turned. On the edge of the hollow, above the circle, men poured in like water spills over a bow. The scar man was at the front. His hair was wet, as if he had run under the fall again. His shirt clung. In his fist, wrapped tight, was the little torn piece of the map. He smiled, not wide, but deep. His eyes went straight to the well. There, he said softly. There. He lifted his other hand. He did not hold a mirror. He held a small bag. He untied it with his teeth and threw what was inside into the circle. It was a powder, fine and grey. It hit the green light and made it hiss. The singing changed. The old well coughed. The face flickered. Stop! Tay shouted, and he jumped forward like a small brave dog trying to chase a big snake. The scar man snapped his fingers. Two men behind him moved. They were quick. One grabbed Tay around the chest. The other grabbed his arm. Ife lunged to pull Tay back. Something cold and strong snapped around her ankle. She looked down. A root, thin but tight, had risen from the edge of the circle and looped around her. It did not feel mean. It felt scared, like a friend who grabs your coat when a car comes too fast. I have you, a voice said behind the root. It was the old woman. She was there. How had she gotten there so fast, staff planted, hair bright, eyes on the scar man? Don't fall in, child. The green light dimmed. The scar man stepped closer to the circle. He held up the torn piece of the map. He spoke a word then, a word that sounded like water falling from very high but being forced to fall wrong. The word made the leaf light tremble. The word did not belong here. The old woman hissed like a cat. He knows one of the names, she said. A ripped one. A hurt one. What do I do? Ife cried. Her heart banged. Her fingers hurt from holding the big map too tight. The old woman did not look at her. She kept her eyes on the scar man. Sing, she said. Not with your mouth first. With your heart. Say the oldest name. Say ours. Ife swallowed. She looked at Tay, held by strong hands but still fighting, always fighting. She looked at the scar man, 2 steps from the circle, holding the torn piece like a key. She looked at the driver, who had come panting into the hollow behind the men, his face set like a door that would not break again. She looked at the well, green light shaking, voice coughing. She lifted the map high. The tear looked like a wound. She pressed her palm flat over the middle word. She did not sing with her mouth first. She sang inside. She said, with everything, the oldest name she knew. Ours. The map burned in her hand, not hot, but bright. The red line leaped, and for a heartbeat, it was not a line on paper. It was a line in the world, from the circle to her hand, from her hand to Tay's shoulder, from Tay to the old woman's staff, from the staff to the little stones, from the stones to the old well. A net of red, thin and strong. The scar man took his last step. He threw the torn piece. The piece glided in the air like a moth. It started to fall into the circle. And the ground under Ife's feet jumped like a thing bitten, hard. The root at her ankle pulled. She lost her balance. The map in her hand slipped. The word tilted. The torn piece fell. The map fell. Tay shouted. The old woman yelled a word like thunder in a small room. The driver reached out a hand that could not be long enough. Ife grabbed for the map, missed, and the big map, the one that was also a heart, the heart that was also a map, slid off the edge of the circle and dropped into the open mouth of the oldest well. It fell. It turned once in the green light like a white leaf in wind. It touched the light. And the well closed its mouth. The well shut itself with a sound like a giant taking a deep breath. The circle of stones glowed so bright that Ife had to squeeze her eyes shut. Her chest felt heavy, as if something inside her had been pulled down with the map. The old well had swallowed it. Her family's map. The only thing her mother had trusted her with. The paper that was not just paper but blood, memory, promise. Gone. The scar man froze where he stood. His hand was still stretched forward as if he could pull the torn piece back in the air. His face twisted, not with fear, but with shock. For the first time since Ife saw him, he looked uncertain. The old woman slammed her staff into the ground. The sound cracked like thunder. Roots shot up from the earth, wrapping around the men who had been holding Tay. They dropped him and struggled, their arms tangled like chickens caught in vines. Now, child, the old woman cried. Call it back. Ife's whole body shook. But it's gone. The green glow from the circle rose again, weaker than before. The old well spoke, its voice trembling like an old drum with a hole in its skin. The map is not gone. The heart is not lost. What is swallowed can be sung back. But you must feed me. Feed you what? Ife shouted. I already gave my flute. The ground under her feet rumbled. The face of light flickered in the circle. Give me your fear, the well whispered. All of it. Her fear. It had been with her since the car door shut and her mother sped away. Since the bell rang by itself. Since the scar man's mare screamed. Fear was in her chest, in her throat, in her shaking hands. Could she give it away? Could she even let go of something that lived in her bones? The scar man found his voice again. He snarled and pulled the torn piece of map to his chest. The corner burned red in his palm. Don't listen, he shouted at her. The well is a liar. It eats and eats until nothing is left. If you give it your fear, it will take more. It will take everything. Tay pulled at her sleeve. His face was wild. Ife, listen to me. If it wanted everything, it would have taken the map and kept it. But it's asking you. That means it cannot steal. It means it wants the part you're ready to let go of. I'm not ready. Ife cried. The scar man lifted the torn piece high. The red glow spread across his chest. He laughed again, but this time the laugh shook, unsteady. Then I am ready enough for both of us, he said, and he stepped closer to the circle. The driver staggered forward, clutching his neck where the mirror had caught him. Ife, he croaked. His voice cracked like glass. Do what your mother would do. Her mother. She saw her in her mind, sitting by the sewing machine, hands fast and sure, but singing softly under her breath even when money was low, even when the road was hard. Her mother's voice never shook in front of her. Not once. Her mother did not feed fear. Her mother fed hope. Ife's tears blurred her eyes. She held the birdstone tight against her chest. She took one long, burning breath. And then she screamed, not words, but all of it. Every bit of fear. She screamed out the memory of the dark car, the echo of the mirror scream, the dread of losing her mother, the horror of seeing strange men's eyes in the night. She screamed until her chest felt empty, until the air itself shook. The well drank it. The green light flared. The scar man stumbled backward as if shoved by an invisible hand. The torn piece in his palm blackened and turned to ash. He cried out and clutched his hand. The well's voice came back, not weak now, but deep and rolling. The heart is remembered. The map is reborn. From the circle rose not one map, but three. They floated above the well like glowing leaves. One was Ife's map, whole again, no tear. The second was the smaller one from the box. The third was different, older, larger, written in darker ink. Its lines stretched further, its red path longer, its green space wider. All three hovered in the air, glowing. The scar man's eyes widened. His snarl returned. Mine, he roared, and he lunged forward, both arms outstretched. The old woman raised her staff to block him. They grabbed Ife's hand. The driver shouted her name. And in that instant, the three maps spun together in the air like birds in flight. Then fused into one. A single, blazing map hung over the circle, alive and pulsing, brighter than any torch, more powerful than any mirror. The red line across it burned like fire, and the word in the center was no longer just OURS. It was something bigger. It was all. The scar man stopped in his tracks. His mouth opened, but no laugh came. His eyes were full of a fear that even he could not feed to the earth. The old woman whispered, "The land has chosen." And then the hollow shook again, harder than before. Something else had woken. Something deeper than the well. Something that did not sound like friend. The earth split with a groan, long and deep, as if something old had rolled over in its sleep. Dust fell from the hollow ceiling. The glowing map flickered. Ife felt the air grow heavy, too thick for her lungs. Then came the sound. It was not footsteps. It was not a voice. It was not like anything Ife had ever heard. It was the sound of roots tearing free from soil. The sound of 1,000 tree trunks straining at once. And underneath that, a heartbeat. A slow, endless thump. Tay's hand tightened on hers. The well woke something else, he whispered. His voice trembled like the candle flame between them. The scar man stumbled back, his eyes wide now, not with greed but with terror. No, no, not that. It cannot rise. It was sealed. His words stumbled fast, desperate. He clutched his burned hand to his chest. What is it? Ife asked, her voice shaking. The old woman's face was hard as stone. The land does not forget, she said. But sometimes, it remembers what it should not. This well was built to guard against what lies below. If it wakes fully, she struck her staff against the ground. All will be lost. The heartbeat grew louder. Thump. The dirt under their feet jumped with each beat. The glowing map over the circle shook, its red path riding like a live snake. The driver stepped forward, his face pale. His voice was raw, but he forced the words out, the map isn't just a guide. It's a lock. It shows where to go, but also what to keep closed. Ife's chest burned. Then if I gave the map to the well, did I open it? The old woman looked at her. Not with anger, not with comfort, just truth. Yes, child. Her knees buckled. She almost dropped the birdstone. Tears stung her eyes. I didn't mean. They grabbed her shoulders. You didn't know. You were saving it. You were saving all of us. But the ground cracked again. A jagged line tore across the hollow floor. From it came a smell, wet, old, sour, like water locked away too long. The scar man laughed, but the laugh was broken. Fools! You thought the land belonged to you. You thought you could hide it. But the land belongs to what sleeps inside it. The old woman lifted her staff high, and the roots around the trapped men squeezed tighter. Her voice boomed, Child, the map chose you. That means you are not only the keeper of the way, you are the keeper of the lock. You must decide. Do we follow the map to the land, or seal the thing beneath forever? The crack split wider. Out of it came something black and wet. A root, or a hand. It reached toward the circle of stones, dripping mud. The glowing map dimmed, as if afraid. The heartbeat thundered again. The scar man screamed, It's waking. Nothing will stop it now. Ife clutched the birdstone so tightly it cut into her palm. Her heart pounded with the earth stamp. She had one choice. Run to the tunnel with Tay and escape before the hollow collapsed. Or step forward, face the black hand, and use the map's power to seal what should never rise. The well's voice trembled one last time. Choose, child. Run, or remember. The black hand broke the surface fully, its fingers long as branches, curling toward her. And then, the heartbeat stopped. For just one breath. Everything went silent. Then the hand opened its palm. And inside it glowed the same crest as on her stone, the bird with wide wings, carrying a leaf. The silence was so thick Ife could hear her own pulse in her ears. The black hand, huge, dripping, made of root and stone and mud, did not grab her. It did not crush the circle of stones or tear apart the hollow. It simply opened. And in its wide, wet palm glowed the crest, a bird with spread wings, carrying a leaf. The same crest carved into her birdstone. The same crest drawn on the oldest map. The scar man staggered backward, eyes wide, shaking his head. No. No. That mark is ours to take, not to give. He lunged as if to snatch it, but the roots around his legs tightened. He crashed to the ground, cursing. The old woman's staff trembled in her hand. This is no enemy, she whispered. Not yet. The land is testing her. They looked at Ife, his eyes huge in the glow. It's calling you. Ife couldn't breathe. Her legs moved on their own, carrying her closer to the black hand. The closer she came, the less monstrous it seemed. The fingers weren't claws, they were roots, old and scarred, tangled with stone. The mud that dripped from it smelled not of rot but of rain. The crest paused brighter in its palm. The well's voice rose again, deep and hollow. Keeper of the heart, what was hidden cannot stay buried forever. Will you bear it? Will you walk not only to what is ours, but to what is forgotten? Ife's lips trembled. I don't know how. The heartbeat came again, softer this time. The voice of the well echoed with it. You carry no fear now. Only choice. Her mother's words echoed in her mind, hold it like your heart. Because it is. Ife lifted her birdstone. It glowed faintly, answering the crest. The two lights seemed to call to each other. The black hand tilted forward, lowering its palm until it hovered before her chest. Tay hissed, don't touch it. But his voice was thin with doubt. The old woman leaned on her staff, eyes sharp. Child, sometimes the only lock is the same as the key. The scar man screamed, struggling against the roots. If she takes it, it binds her. She'll belong to it, and the land will no longer be yours. Ife pressed her lips tight. She thought of her mother's promise to come for her. She thought of her grandfather building the school door. She thought of the map's word, or. Her hand rose. The birdstone in her palm touched the glowing crest in the hand of mud and root. For one heartbeat, nothing. Then the hollow exploded with light. The cracks in the floor sealed with thunderous snaps. The dripping roots dried, calling back into the earth. The glowing map above the circle flared so bright it burned the scar man's eyes. He screamed and covered his face. And Ife felt something pour into her. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't painful. It was wide. Like a river flowing through her veins. She felt the green places on the map, their hills, their rivers, their trees, breathing inside her chest. She felt the land's hunger and kindness both. She felt the roots remembering. The crest sank into her birdstone, fusing with it. The glow softened, but it did not vanish. The well's voice came one last time, softer than before. Now you are the map. The way forward is written in you. And then the circle dimmed. The black hand sank back into the earth, leaving only soil, damp and trembling. The old woman sank to her knees. It is done. The driver leaned against the wall, breathing hard. No, it has only begun. Tay stared at Ife. His voice was a whisper of awe and fear together. What are you now? Before Ife could answer, the scar man tore free from the last of the roots. His face was twisted, his burned hand black with ash, his eyes wild. You think this makes you chosen, he hissed. No child holds land. No child commands earth. If the land is in you, then I will cut it out. He pulled something from his coat, a long knife, jagged and gleaming, its blade carved with the same lines as his broken mirror. He raised it high. And he leapt straight for Ife. The knife flashed down. Ife's body locked. She saw only silver, firelight, and the scar man's twisted face. Then, clang. Tay held the lamp. It struck the knife hand, sending sparks and shards of glass across the hollow. Flames licked the scar man's sleeve. He roared, dropping the blade. Run! Tay shouted. But before Ife could move, the knife twitched on the ground. It dragged itself, screeching against the stone floor, as though pulled by invisible strings. The broken mirror on its hilt glowed faintly. The scar man snatched it up with his unbound hand. His grin was cracked but sharp. You think you can stop me with lamps and roots? This blade is older than all of you. It drinks maps. It drinks paths. It drinks keepers. The old woman slammed her staff. Roots shot from the ground toward him again, but this time the knife slashed through them. The roots withered into ash before they even touched him. The driver tried to stagger between Ife and the scar man, but the knife's glow knocked him aside like a wave. He hit the wall with a sick thud. No! Ife cried. She darted forward, but Tay grabbed her wrist. Wait, he whispered. Look at your hand. Her birdstone paused in her palm. Lines glowed faintly across her skin, red, green, blue, like paths drawn on flesh. They shimmered and shifted, forming little rivers and hills right in her veins. The map was inside her now. Her breath caught. She lifted her hand toward the scar man. The glowing lines stretched outward, hanging in the air, shaping themselves into a faint path that led between them. The scar man froze for a moment. His grin faltered. What? The path lit brighter, splitting into two directions. One line burned red-hot, leading toward him. The other glowed soft green, winding deeper into the earth. The land is showing you, Tay said quickly. It's telling you where to strike, or where to go. The Scar Man's knife shone brighter, fighting against the paths. No. You will not choose. He raised the blade again, lunging. Ife's heart hammered. She had to act. Her choices burned before her eyes. Take the red path, meet the Scar Man head-on, strike with the lance fire. Take the green path, flee deeper into the earth, toward something unknown. The hollow shook again. The choice would not wait. The Scar Man's knife swung down toward her chest. And Ife stepped onto the path. Light burst under her feet, carrying her forward faster than she could run. The Scar Man's blade slashed the air where she had stood. His scream echoed in the hollow as Ife and Tay vanished into the green glow, swallowed by the living map itself. They fell. Down, down, into a tunnel of light and root and memory. Ife clutched the birdstone to her chest. She could still hear the Scar Man's voice behind them, growing faint but furious. You cannot run forever, child. The land belongs to me. The map path twisted, carrying her deeper. Tay's grip on her hand was the only steady thing in the rushing glow. When the lights finally faded, they tumbled onto cool ground. They were no longer in the hollow. They were standing in a vast underground chamber, lit by glowing roots hanging like lanterns. In the center was a pool of water so clear it looked like glass. On its surface floated shapes. Houses. Trees. Fields. It looked like a tiny world trapped underwater. Tay gasped. The hidden land. But Ife knew, deep in her bones, that this was not the land itself. This was its heart. And if the Scar Man found it, he would own everything. The chamber was quiet, but not dead. The pool of water shimmered as though it breathed. When Ife stepped closer, the glow from her stone made the surface ripple. The miniature world floating inside, the trees, the hills, the tiny rivers, shifted as though alive. Tay crouched at the edge, eyes wide. It's like the land shrunk itself, he whispered. Like it hid its heart where no one could touch it. Ife knelt. The birdstone paused in her palm, and the tiny trees in the water leaned toward her, as if they could feel it. She reached out, but stopped just before her fingers touched the surface. A voice rose, not the well this time, but the pool itself. It was softer, lighter, like the wind through leaves. Keeper, you hold me. You hold what was taken, what was lost. But to awaken me is to bind me. And to bind me is to bind yourself. Ife swallowed hard. What do you mean? The pool rippled again, and she saw herself. Not here in the chamber, but standing in a vast green field under sunlight, older and taller, with the bird crest burning bright on her chest. Tay leaned over, squinting. It's showing you, in the future. The image shifted. She saw herself again, but this time standing on cracked, dry land, shadows all around her, the Scar Man's knife raised high above her head. The crest on her chest was broken in two. The voice spoke. 2 paths. Awaken me now, and the land will rise with you. Hide me again, and the Scar Man will never find me, but neither will you. The water swirled, pulling the 2 images apart, green hope on one side, black ruin on the other. Tay grabbed her wrist. Don't. If you bind yourself to this, maybe you can't go back. Maybe you'll never see your mother again. Her chest twisted. The thought of her mother's face, waiting, searching, her mother's promise to return, it burned. She clenched her teeth. The chamber shook suddenly, dust falling from the ceiling. A faint, furious voice echoed from far above, the Scar Man's. I will find you, child. The land's heart will not stay hidden. The pool paused. The voice whispered one last time. Decide. Keeper, do you carry me into light, or bury me in shadow? The glowing trees bent lower toward her hand. The tiny rivers shimmered, urging her to choose. Her heart pounded. She was standing on the edge of something too big for her, bigger than her fear, bigger than her promise. She stretched her fingers toward the water. And the surface broke. Not by her hand, but by something rising from beneath it. A figure stepped out of the glowing pool, made of water and light, its eyes green fire. It looked at Ife and spoke in a voice that shook the chamber. You are the map. But I am the land. And we are not yet one. The figure stood tall, its body rippling like water but strong as stone. Roots threaded through its arms, flowers bloomed across its shoulders, and its eyes blazed green, bright enough to burn shadows away. Ife stumbled back, clutching her birdstone. Te gasped and scrambled to his feet, but the figure raised one hand, and the chamber grew still. I am what your blood has gathered, it said. Its voice was deep and layered, as if many voices spoke together, men and women, old and young, all at once. I am the root beneath the root, the song beneath the song. I am the land itself. Ife's lips parted. But, the map. The well. The crest. All pieces of me, the spirit answered. It took a step closer, and the water did not ripple beneath its feet. Long ago, your people bound me, so I could not be stolen. They drew me into paper, into stone, into song. They carried me in secrets. They hid me in your family's bloodline. The birdstone grew hot in Ife's hand. Te whispered, so her family, her mother, her grandfather, they were never just keeping land. They were keeping you. The spirit's eyes turned to him. Yes. And now the last keeper stands here. Child, do you know why you were left at the schoolhouse door? Ife's chest tightened. My mother, she said she'd come back. She will, the spirit said, it's tone neither kind nor cruel. But she left you because the land called you first. She could no longer carry it alone. Ife shook her head. Her throat ached. I'm just a girl. I can't carry all this. I don't even know how. The spirit knelt so its glowing eyes were level with hers. You already are. You gave up your fear to wake the well. You chose the path when death leapt at you. The land is not asking for strength you do not have. It is asking for the heart you already keep. Her eyes burned with tears. She wanted to scream that she didn't want this, that she only wanted her mother, her home, a life that made sense. But deep inside, beneath the ache, she felt something alive. A rhythm that matched her heartbeat. The land. It was inside her now. Suddenly, the chamber shook again. This time harder. Roots ripped from the ceiling, and dust rained down. The pool of water trembled. From far above, the scar man's roar echoed, Child. I will carve the heart from you if I must. The spirit's eyes hardened. He is breaking through. That knife he carries, its mirror was forged to cut through even me. If he reaches this place, he can wound the land itself. Te's voice cracked. Then we have to leave. We can't fight him here. But the spirit turned back to Ife. No. Here is where choice must be made. Keeper, will you bind yourself fully to me, awakening the hidden land for all? Or will you let me sink again into shadow, safe but sleeping, while the scar man tears the world above searching? The birdstone throbbed, burning her palm. The glowing crest within it seemed to pulse with her own heart. Ife felt herself split. One half longed to run, to find her mother, to never bear this weight again. The other half felt the land's heartbeat, strong, endless, asking her to be more than just a frightened child. She opened her mouth. And before her choice could escape, the ceiling above shattered. The scar man dropped into the chamber, knife blazing, his grin stretched wide. At last, he growled. The heart. The keeper. Both mine. The scar man hit the ground like a falling stone, the knife blazing in his hand. Its broken mirror pulsed with a red, hungry light that made the roots above shrivel. The spirit of the land straightened, its form swelling until it brushed the ceiling. Its eyes burned like two suns. You dare bring that blade here? The scar man grinned, wild and sharp. This knife was forged from your own shadow. From the first roots you shed when men learned to cut trees. It drinks what it touches. And tonight, it will drink you. He lunged. The knife's glow tore through the chamber's green light. The pool rippled violently, the tiny world inside quaking like it would break apart. The spirit raised its hand. Roots burst from the floor, coiling around the scar man's legs. But the knife sliced through them like water. He roared and kept coming. Ife's heart pounded. She clutched the birdstone so tightly it cut her skin. The map lines in her veins flared again, red, green, blue, burning with parts. She saw them stretch out across the chamber. Red, toward the scar man's chest, a strike that could burn him away. Green, around the pool, a shield that could protect the heart. Blue, winding between the spirit and herself, weaving them together. The spirit's voice boomed, "Child, choose your path." But the scar man was already upon them. His knife slashed through the spirit's arm. The land itself screamed, 1,000 voices at once. The wound smoked, and for the first time, the spirit staggered. They pulled Ife back. "He can hurt it. Ife, do something now." Her throat tightened. Her choices paused before her eyes. Strike the scar man down. Protect the heart. Bind herself to the spirit forever. Her mother's voice whispered in her memory, "Hold it like your heart." Because it is. The scar man turned on her, his grin sharper than the knife. "Yes, child," he hissed. "Choose. Strike me, and you'll be a killer. Shield the pool, and I'll carve your land spirit apart. Bind yourself, and you'll never be free." The knife rose, red and burning. The chamber shook. And Ife stepped forward. Her birdstone blazed. The map inside her veins burst outward, painting the chamber with lines of fire and river. The blue parts surged brightest, wrapping around her and the spirit like a binding cord. The scar man's knife struck. But instead of cutting, it met a wall of light. Sparks exploded, and the chamber filled with the clash of two ancient powers. The scar man screamed as the blue light crawled up his arm. The spirit's voice thundered with Ife's own, joined as one. "The land remembers." The knife cracked. A fracture split its broken mirror. And still, the scar man held on. His eyes burned with rage, his scream turning into a laugh, jagged and wild. "You think you've won? If the land is bound to you, then when I break you, I break it all." The chamber roared, roots ripping, water splashing, light flaring. And in the chaos, the ceiling split wider. More shadows began to pour in. Not just the scar man, others. Men in black hoods, eyes gleaming, crawling down the roots with ropes and blades. Tay's voice broke with terror. "Ife, there's more of them. They're coming." The chamber shook as shadows poured down from the broken ceiling. Men in black hoods, their eyes glinting with hunger, slid along ropes, dropped to the ground, and raised their blades. Their faces burned with the same greed as the scar man's. Men who had followed him, men who believed the land could be owned like silver or gold. The scar man laughed through the crackle of his breaking knife. His voice was raw, jagged, desperate. "You see, child. You can't protect it. Even if you bind yourself, they will keep coming. There are always more." The spirit of the land roared, its wounds licking roots and soil. "Keeper. The time is now." The map in Ife's veins blazed until her skin glowed. The lines spread across her arms, her neck, her face, red, green, blue, parts written on her body. The birdstone paused so hard it felt like another heartbeat in her hand. Tay clutched her shoulder. His voice trembled, but it was steady enough to hold her there. Ife, you have to choose. If you fight with fire, you can burn them. If you shield the pool, you can keep the heart safe. If you bind, his throat closed. If you bind, you may never come back. Her chest ached. She thought of her mother, somewhere far above, still searching for her. She thought of her grandfather's schoolhouse, of his trembling hands and his words, "Hold it like your heart." She thought of Tay, standing with her in the hollow even when he could have run. And she thought of the land itself, alive inside her, whispering with every breath, "Remember. Remember." The Scar Man raised his knife again, screaming. His followers charged, their blades flashing. Ife lifted her birdstone high. "I remember," she cried. The chamber exploded with light. The map burst out of her veins, stretching across the ceiling, the floor, the pool, the roots, the walls. Every part, red, green, blue, twined together into one. The crest blazed above her head, wings wide. The spirit's voice boomed with hers, one voice, one heartbeat. The land belongs to none. The land belongs to all. The Scar Man's knife shattered. The red light shrieked and died. His scream cut through the chamber as the roots coiled around him, dragging him toward the pool. His followers dropped their blades, clawing at the air, but the map lines wrapped them too, pulling them into the earth itself. The chamber roared like a storm. The pool rose high, flooding with light, swallowing greed and shadow alike. The tiny trees, the rivers, the fields inside it grew until the whole chamber seemed filled with a living world. Ife felt herself lifted, her body no longer just hers. She was land. She was river. She was root and bird and stone. And then, silence. The Scar Man was gone. The men were gone. The pool was still, clear again. The spirit stood over her, whole once more, its wounds healed. "You have bound yourself," it said. Its eyes glowed with a gentler fire now. "From this day, you are no longer only a child. You are keeper of the hidden land." Ife sank to her knees. The birdstone was cool in her hand again, but the map still pulsed faintly in her veins. Tay knelt beside her, his eyes wide. You did it. You saved it." Her tears spilled. "But what if I never see her again? What if I never go home?" The spirit knelt, placing a hand of light and root on her shoulder. "The land does not take. It gives. Your path will lead you to her, when it is time. For now, you carry all of us." The chamber began to fade, its glow softening. The pool shimmered like morning sunlight. Tay squeezed her hand. "Where do we go now?" Ife looked at the fading crest above her, then at the glowing lines still etched faintly on her skin. She didn't know the full answer. Not yet. But she knew one thing. She was no longer lost. She was the map. And the map was alive.